Hey, I'm Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family. Today we are reviewing Ticket to Ride, a classic family strategy game for 2 to 5 players about playing trains to connect cities on a map, which plays in about 30 to 60 minutes.
And to give you our recommendation up front, we think Ticket to Ride is a modern classic that is still one of the best family weight games for appealing to gamers and non-gamers alike. And just a note that pictures in this review will show cards from the 1910 expansion, which replaces the original smaller train cards with full-size cards and adds additional destinations. Just know that if you buy the USA base game, you can expect it to include the smaller deck of train cards, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Ryan, let's jump into the review.
The goal in Ticket to Ride is to claim routes on the map in an effort to form connections between the cities on your destination tickets. Each turn, you can either collect train cards, spend train cards to claim a route, or draw additional destination tickets. You will need to balance collecting new cards with locking in routes on the board, all while adapting to the actions of other players and deciding how much to push your luck with additional destinations. The player who can accumulate the most points from completed destinations and routes will be the winner.
Ticket to Ride is an extremely accessible game, but this low rules overhead doesn't translate to trivial decisions or a lack of depth. Every single decision that players make comes with a trade-off. Can I keep collecting train cards, or will someone claim an important route before I get the chance? Since all the destination cards are secret, no one is quite sure of which routes are valuable or useless to the other players at the table. As the first routes are played, players' intentions are slowly uncovered, but it's not uncommon for someone to claim a route that catches other players completely off guard, as it is nowhere near their other connections.
However, playing conservatively is rarely the winning strategy in Ticket to Ride. You will likely need to take additional destination cards at some point in the game if you want to compete, but when is the best time to acquire them? Do you take extra destination cards long before you've completed your starting ones, gaining the advantage of being able to optimize how they overlap, but allowing your opponents more opportunity to get in your way early in the game? Or do you focus on finishing your initial destinations, ensuring that you have a solid base before pushing your luck with more destination cards? And towards the end of the game, is it better to risk taking additional destination cards, or do you think you are in a position where you could push the end of the game by quickly playing the rest of your trains? There is a satisfying tension running through a game of Ticket to Ride as the map slowly fills up and you weigh the trade-offs of the 3 actions each turn.
With just the base game, Ticket to Ride is really best with 3 to 5 players. 2 players is fine, there will just be less interesting interactions on the map. That said, it is a game that has been expanded continuously over the last 20 years, and there are map expansions available that cater more to specific player counts. The railroad theme using real-world geography is nice, but it's definitely abstracted pretty far as players collect sets of colors to complete links in the board's network.
The random draw with destinations and train cards certainly adds a luck factor, but in our experience, there's a lot of room for skillful play with knowing how to time your actions, predicting your opponent's plans, and being opportunistic with the train cards and routes that are made available. Over a larger sample of plays, it becomes more evident that more skilled players tend to win more often. While you are working towards your own goals by collecting cards without a lot of influence from your opponents, the shared map ensures that, especially with higher player counts, this is a very interactive game. As the board fills, almost every turn has you weighing which routes you think are most likely to be taken, informing how you prioritize the pieces of your strategy.
Ticket to Ride is super easy to set up. Just lay out the board, shuffle the decks of cards, and then deal everyone their starting destination and train cards. It is a game that is easy to teach, largely because of the objective of connecting routes is so tangible and intuitive, and the set collection is often a familiar concept. That said, for someone who hasn't been exposed to modern board games, there is a little more going on here than what they may be used to. Games of Ticket to Ride begin with each player getting a unique set of destination cards, and that alone is enough to force the game to unfold differently every time. The overall feel remains similar from game to game, but you are always interacting with the shared network in new ways that keeps the game from getting stale.
The core interest in Ticket to Ride comes from the great tension among the 3 actions in the game. Each one has advantages to doing it sooner than later. Collecting cards gives you more complete information on your route building resources. Playing routes allows you to claim key links before other players, and taking destination cards gives you more information on how to connect them all efficiently. So whenever you take one action, you are actively delaying the benefits of the other two actions, and the result is a game that is filled with meaningful decisions and tactical interest.
And that tactical interest is fueled by the fact that your opponent's actions on the board can really shift your strategy. Whether you are blocked outright or simply threatened by the proximity of an opponent, you always need to be ready to adapt and recognize when your priorities need to be reevaluated based on other players.
Players can decide how much they want to push their luck with destination cards, which means that the game does a great job of catering to different playstyles. A really conservative, non-competitive player can just work on completing their initial tickets, while a gamer that wants more strategic excitement can really make it hard on themselves by taking on the risk of additional destinations in the face of ambiguity. Ticket to Ride's ability to cater to different players' strategic preferences within a single session is a huge strength as a family weight game.
The full penalty of incomplete destinations is the driving factor in the fun tension of Ticket to Ride. But it also can mean that players can have a sour ending when they take tons of negative points just because they couldn't make one final connection. This is mitigated by players defining their own level of risk, but it is a game where players can have very unfortunate endings that may turn them off from the experience.
On the other hand, there's the chance that players get huge amount of points near the end of the game simply because they were lucky enough to draw a destination that they have already almost completed. Getting 20 plus points due to a random card draw while another player draws tickets that don't align with their network at all can definitely rub players the wrong way if they don't have their expectations set appropriately.
Some players will argue that it can be a better strategy to mostly ignore their destination cards and just focus on scoring points from long routes while blocking other players around the map. While it is debatable and situational whether the strategy is effective, it definitely feels like it goes against the spirit of the game and tends to be less fun than if everyone is playing with a conventional strategy. A group can certainly mutually agree to avoid that strategy, but it is kind of a weird dynamic if a player believes it would help them win and is entirely within the rules of the game. And now, let's get to our final ratings for Ticket to Ride.
So if you were to ask me if there's a single game that I most associate with like being a comfort food, it's Ticket to Ride. For me, we've played it so many times. It's so familiar, but yet it just always is interesting to me. And always, I love that tension that's in the game. And, you know, we talked about how you can kind of define how risky you want to be. And it's fun to, you know, push that and be like, I'm really going to go for more in this game. And can I pull it all together by the end? And so it's just one I still really enjoy playing. Whenever I see people talking about it as like, only an introductory game and like kind of dismissing it as like, you know, once you move on to some of these more advanced games, I am here to sing the praises of Ticket to Ride. I love some good Ticket to Ride, and I haven't had that change. And we've played it a lot.
We have played it a lot.
I am going to come in at an 8.5 out of 10. And that's despite me, if I was to rate it from the perspective of like the game design and how I feel it fits like what it's trying to accomplish, I really do think it's a 10 out of 10 design, like near design perfection. For my personal enjoyment, it's an 8.5, which is a really strong showing for a game of this strategic weight, for a family weight game that you can play with almost anybody. Now that is certainly supplemented by we've played a bunch of the different expansion maps over the years. We had Europe that we played for a long time. I know we had India and Switzerland. I more recently have gotten the United Kingdom, Pennsylvania. And it is fun when you've played the game a lot to get to mix it up. But you know what? Sometimes I just want to throw it down on the USA map. And like, you know, it's always a good time. Yeah. It's true. Yeah, I don't have to be like, where's this city that I don't know?
Well, except for Europe? Duluth. Isn't Duluth on there like in the wrong...
Yeah, they like don't put it in the right place.
Some of the cities are in the wrong spot. Biggest con of the game.
Teaching our children. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, we forgot that con.
Yeah.
Family weight other than it's corrupting the children. But yeah, it's excellent. It's still like, if I'm to recommend a game to someone who is completely new to modern board gaming and wants like a game that's kind of a family weight game, I have a hard time recommending anything above Ticket to Ride.
Right.
Because it just is it's quick to teach and set up. It's quick to play. It satisfies people that have differing kind of interests of how strategic they want it to be. So yeah, I don't get to play it a lot these days. I find with a lot of my gaming groups, it's not the game on the shelf that they're likely to pick. It's almost like it falls into this weird category of being too familiar and like almost, people are almost tired of it. And I'm like almost looking forward to like, someday my kids will be old enough and I'll get to, play some more Ticket to Ride.
And then they'll get tired of it. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll just be alone.
Yeah, we'll be alone.
But yeah, I'm at an 8.5. I'm curious for you. We've played it a similar number of times.
Yeah, I've played it a similar number of times. I've obviously got it myself. I mean, totally agree that it's just an absolute staple in the collection. One that honestly, pretty much everyone should own. And that's maybe a hot take. I don't know how spicy is that take, but like, that's just how accessible it is. And so I'm gonna give it just below you an 8 out of 10. I agree with you on so many points there. I think you don't realize at first how much of a push your luck game it is. There really is. You really do. The more you play it, you realize it's how risky do I want to be, and kind of reading the situation of, do I need to be risky here, or really based off kind of how are the other players doing, how risky do I need to be? But this is the number one game. If I have someone I haven't played any modern board games, hey, we're going to sit down and play a game, this is like the first one my mind goes to. And I really think it's because it's just got so many kind of familiar mechanics in terms of like set collection. Okay, people will have often played card games where they're, kind of making sets. And the US map, honestly, that's an aesthetically, I think it's an aesthetically pleasing thing. It catches the person's eye. It's not this like boring looking board, but it's like, this is familiar. I've seen this before. And so I think even in things like that, it just improves the accessibility of the game, where just about anyone is going to like this. And if you're like us, I really think you'll keep liking it. Even when you've played it over and over and over, because you get those destination cards and it just gives you lots of different options. I came in just below you. I think I have a couple things. I know we mentioned earlier the whole playing long route strategy. I just had a friend who always did it, and he was winning a lot, or not always, but he a lot of times would go to it, and it was just so frustrating because it felt like, it's like, man, he can just do that. And and it actually ties in a little bit with my other kind of con of the game. And this is maybe actually this is specifically kind of the US map. I don't really experience this on some of the others, but I feel like long routes are like vital to winning. Yeah. Like I sometimes feel like if I get a hand dealt at the start of the game and it's like these just little Midwest short routes, I'm kind of just like,
guess I know what I'm doing turn one. More destined. I agree with you. It is one thing that the Europe map I know improves on, because they
guarantee
the long routes are a separate
they guarantee
things. You're guaranteed to get one. So I think for me, I wanted the US map in my collection because it is so classic and so accessible, but it is nice to have some other maps and some other options. Like my rating probably wouldn't be where it is if I always 100% of the time was playing on the US map.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I another point I was thinking of when you were talking about kind of like, the accessibility of it is the fact that it's a shared map and is like a pretty interactive game. You're all kind of interacting on this common board. And there's other games that are in a similar weight that I highly recommend, but are much more like work on your own thing type of game.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have a game that it's like, we're going to feel like we're all kind of doing something more together than some of those other games. Like sometimes it's just a better fit for the dynamic you're going to. But at the same time, it's not like spiteful interaction or like, we're directly at least trying to hurt each other. Like it happens.
I remember one time our sister pulled a pretty
okay, so our sister spitefully
gnarly move on. Was it you that she blocked? Or
It was probably you. I
oh,
imagine.
that's true. I did.
If history has taught us
Maybe
anything.
it was me. Yeah.
I had a funny one with my wife's sister where we're to the end of the game and I'm having one of those games where I got lots of destinations and like none of them are done yet because I'm going to like, connect to the whole master plan at the end.
Of course.
And out of nowhere, she is just looking to like play a route anywhere and happens to take a 4 white route, which is like specifically white and specifically 4. And she took it right before my turn when I was going to play it. And I just had this moment of like, oh my gosh, I just went from absolutely crushing everybody to I might not have a positive score. Which I think I was going to say, like, it's a good, also a self-balancing thing. Like, not only do I, as the really experienced player, choose to take on more risk, but it could backfire and in some ways levels the playing field because I'm playing with fire a little bit. And so as, maybe the more skilled player, I end up taking myself out of contention. I can attest, which is kind of nice in a family game.
Attest some of the lowest scores recorded for me are from the most experienced players. So
yes, there we go.
So there you go. Well, those are our thoughts on the classic Ticket to Ride. But the real question is Ticket to Ride a game that you should check out?
If you don't like getting blocked in games or having the possibility of a random card draw really swing the final scores, then there may be parts of Ticket to Ride that prevent you from enjoying it.
But if you want a proven game that can appeal to gamers and non-gamers alike, enjoy working towards completing a visual goal, and enjoy a healthy amount of tension as you figure out the best order to take your actions, then we highly recommend Ticket to Ride and our evidence that more strategic gamers can still enjoy it after 100+ plays.
Hey, thanks for watching. As always, we've got a link in the description if you want to check Ticket to Ride out for yourself. Otherwise, check out one of the other videos we've got on the channel, and we will see you in the next one.